Hello and welcome to Yoga with Carolynne. My name is Carolynne and thank you so much for being here. When you are feeling stressed or overwhelmed or anxious or just plain old disconnected, it can be really helpful to come down to the ground, to connect into your root. Your root chakra is the first of the 7 chakras, and it is energetically associated with your sense of security, your basic needs, and your sense of self. In today's practice, you will cultivate self-love, a stability, and a sense of support. So put on your comfy clothes, roll out your yoga mat, and let's get started. Welcome to Yoga with Carolynne, teaching yoga students how to find more comfort and presence in life through the lessons of gentle hatha and yin yoga, no matter your shape or ability to touch your toes. All right, my darling, let's ground down, let's root down. So you're gonna want to have 2 yoga blocks for today's practice. If you don't have 2 yoga blocks, then a few heavy books will work just fine. So make your way onto your back. That's where we're going to be starting for today's practice. Once you make your way onto your back, I will let you choose as to whether or not it's more comfortable for you to have the legs nice, long, and straight, or to have a bend to the legs with the soles of the feet on the mat. So it's totally up to you. To really add on to that sense of groundedness, of rooting down, I'll ask that you bring your hands palm face down on your belly, but underneath of your belly button, so right at the base of your belly. If it feels okay, if it feels safe for you for today, bring your eyes to a close. If not, just bring some softness to the gaze. If your legs are straight, allow your feet to kind of fall out to either side as you allow and invite your physical body to settle down into the support of the floor, of the mat, of the earth beneath you. And before we do anything with the breaths or with the physical postures, so the asanas, take this very first moment to give yourself permission to be here. The next few minutes of the video, or the time that you're here on your mat, this is your time. With the hands palm face down on the belly, feel that physical connection to your breath. So see if you can explore sending your breath down into the belly and really feeling the hands rise and fall as you breathe in and as you breathe out. The exhale, inviting your low back, your glutes, your hips to soften into the mat. Your root chakra is located right at the base of your spine. So feel that rooting down into the mat. As your inhales and exhales invite you to settle into your practice. Now slowly, picking up both of the legs, bringing the legs into the body, so allowing the knees to hug in towards the chest, placing one hand on top of each shin, on top of each knee. You can enjoy just stillness, or you can begin to rock from side to side, massaging the low back. And then coming back into center, allow the soles of the feet to come down onto the mat. Your feet are about hip distance apart, and your hands will now come down onto the mat right alongside your hips with the palms face down. Walk your heels in nice and close so that you can almost touch your heels with your fingertips. And allow the feet to really press into the mat. So bringing your attention to the big toe, and then the little toe, and then the heel of your feet pressing into the mat. Spread the fingers nice and wide to also find that connection. Feel the floor underneath of your hands. pressing into your arms and your feet, begin to lift the low back and the hips away from the mat. Using that connection of the limbs that are still in contact with the mat to press into the mat to help rise those hips up towards the sky. Hug the inner thighs in towards each other. Bridge pose. Take one more inhale to lift a little bit higher, and then slowly, nice long exhale, one vertebrae at a time, you come all the way back down towards the mat. You're going to begin to link breath and movement together here. Take a long inhale to slowly press into the feet, press into the arms, to lift the hips. Allow the hip bones to press up towards the sky, maybe puff up the heart a little bit. And then on your exhale, slowly, one vertebrae at a time, come down. 2 more times just like that at your own pace with your own breath. Beautiful. Once you've done that 2 times, take one more inhale to lift up into your bridge pose. Now we're going to stay here. So really exploring the sensation of pressing the feet, pressing the hands into the mat, and that is what helps lift those hips up. Notice the rise and fall of your belly as you keep breathing deep here. Hug the inner thighs in towards each other. One more inhale to lift a little higher. And exhale, bring the hips back down. Beautiful work, my darling. Lift up both of the legs. Bring the knees back in towards the chest. Hug those knees in nice and close. And then bring the hands behind the thighs and then begin to rock along the spine. Head to hips, to eventually bring yourself all the way up, coming into your tabletop position. From your tabletop position, let's explore cat and cow pose here. So on the inhale, drop that belly down, the gaze looks up towards the sky. Exhale as you curl all the way up the spine, puff the upper back, tuck the chin in towards the chest. 2 more just like that. Inhale. Last one at your own pace. Beautiful. Come back into center. Bring your attention to your belly. Bring the belly button up towards the spine. Ground down into your left knee. And then pick up into the right leg to reach the right leg back behind you. Flexing into that right foot, like as if you're standing on the back wall. Heel is reaching back, toes reaching down. Keep your hips level. Feel your baby toe kind of reaching down towards the floor. Ground down into the right hand to then pick up into the left arm. Reach the left fingertips towards the front of your space. Plug that left shoulder down away from the ear. Now breathe. Keep staying connected into the center of your body. So really that belly button up towards the spine. Breathe through any sort of wobbling or shaking happening in the body. It's just your nervous system waking up. And then bring the left hand down onto the mat. And then kick the right leg out towards the side. So I'm just going to turn to face you so that you see what's going on here. So that right leg, I'm mirroring you. The right leg reaches out towards the side and then the foot comes down. The outer edge of the foot is parallel to the side of your space. And then picking yourself up. And you'll see that I've got my left knee aligned underneath of the left hip. Feel the inner thighs hugging in towards each other and then open up into the arms. The fingertips are reaching away from each other. Keep that softness in the shoulders. Take an inhale here to find length in the spine. And then on the exhale, begin to tip towards the right. Right hand comes down onto that right extended leg. Left hand reaches up and then over, coming into your gate pose, Parigasana. Breathe into the left side of the body. Find that stretch across the ribs. And then taking an inhale to come all the way up, and then keep going. Left hand comes down, right hand reaches out towards the other side. That top shoulder, keep the top shoulder rolling back and behind. Find full integrity in the fingertips of the right hand. Connecting into all of those points of connection on the mat. So really press into that extended foot, press into the left hand, press into the left knee. Beautiful work. And then slowly, you're gonna bring that right hand back down onto the mat, bring that right leg in, coming back into your tabletop position. Let's just find one round of cat and cow pose here. On the inhale, drop belly down, gaze looks up towards the sky. Exhale as you tip the tailbone, spread the shoulder blades, tuck the chin in towards the chest. Come back into center. Ground down into the right knee this time, and then pick up into the left leg. Reach that left leg back behind you, flexing into the foot, heel reaching back, toes reaching down. See if you can kind of rotate so that the baby toe reaches down towards the mat. That'll help keep your hips nice and level so that you're not overcompensating. Belly button comes in towards the spine. That will help with finding stability. Ground down into the left hand, right hand reaches forwards. Plug that right shoulder down away from the ear, spread the fingers wide, and then breathe deep. That deep breath being your stabilizer in this shape. Feeling yourself support yourself in your practice in these challenging poses. Take one more inhale to find length. And then that right hand comes down and then kick the left foot out towards the side. Turning towards you again here. So kick that left foot out towards the side and then bring that left foot down. So the outer edge of the left foot is parallel to the side of your space, and then pick yourself up. Right knee is right underneath that right hip. Hug the inner thighs in towards the center. It'll help stabilize you and ground you into the mat. Then take an inhale to open up into the arms, the fingertips reaching away from each other. And then the exhale brings the left hand down, right hand reaches up and all the way over, finding that stretch on the right side of the body. Roll that top shoulder back. Stay light in the left hand that's on that extended leg. Where can you find softness? Slowly. Take an inhale to bring both the hands up, and you're gonna keep going, keep going, keep going. Right hand comes down onto the mat. Left hand reaches out towards the right. Explore pressing the hip bones towards the front of your space. Find a little bit more of a stretch across the heart. Beautiful work. Slowly bring that left hand down. Bring that left leg in. Coming back into your tabletop position. We'll come into a downward facing dog. So walk forward with the hands. Spread those fingers nice and wide. Curl the toes under. Just send the hips up and back into your downward facing dog. Pedal it out into the legs. Settling into the shape. Shake the head to relax the neck. And then from your downward facing dog, walk the hands towards the back of your space. Coming into a forward fold, a ragdoll position at the back of the mat. Let the crown of the head release down.
and then slowly press into the feet to slowly inhale, come all the way up to standing. You could take a second to kind of fix your shirt, fix your hair, and then coming into your mountain pose, your Tadasana shape. We really want you to explore the full sensations of this standing posture. So first, bringing your attention, so you can just listen to me here, just bring your eyes to a close as you really internally explore this shape. Bring your attention to your feet. Big toe presses into the mat, little toe presses into the mat, and your heels press into the mat. Feel the support of the ground beneath you as you really root your feet down. Find a little bit of softness into the knees. Bring that belly button in towards the spine and allow your tailbone to feel heavy reaching down towards the mat. The reason that we tilt that pelvis, lengthening tailbone down into the mat, is that what you're doing is actually you're engaging the lower abdominals and lengthening the low back, which will help with alleviating some low back pressure. Opening the palms towards the front of the space, which encourages that opening across the heart, and now reach the crown of the head up towards the sky. So this integral rooting to rise sensation in your Tadasana shape, your mountain pose, is so incredibly helpful in all of your standing postures in yoga. But it's also such a good reminder of the benefit of rooting down, finding your center, grounding down, so that then you can rise up to any challenge. We're going to be coming into a balancing pose, so important that we found that groundedness in the feet. Bring your hands onto your hips and find something to focus on with your gaze in front of you. Stay where you are. Ground down into that left foot. Bring the weight into the left foot. Keep the right toes on the mat and then just open the right knee out towards the side. So this is option 1 for your tree pose. Option 2 would be to pick up the right foot to then bring the foot in the inside of the lower half of the leg, right underneath the knee. Option 3 is to pick up that foot and then bring the foot to the inner thigh of the standing leg. The trick to keeping that foot there is to hug it all into center. So press the foot into the thigh, thigh into the foot. Keep the hands onto the hips or bring the hands into heart center, or you can play with reaching the fingertips up towards the sky. Notice all the tiny little movements that your ankle and the left foot have to do to stay upright. If you fall out of the shape, who cares? Nobody's watching. Come on right back into it. Treating yourself with such kindness and compassion. If the hands are reaching up towards the sky, slowly bring those hands back down towards the hips. Bring that knee forward and then step that foot down. Awesome. Shake out that standing leg. And then coming into the shape on the other side, so ground down into the right foot this time. Keep the left toes onto the mat to open that knee out towards the side. So this is option 1. If this is your tree pose for today, that's wonderful and that is perfect. This shape is not only a balancing pose, it's also a hip opener. So you can really focus on keeping the feet down and just playing with opening that knee out towards the side. Option 2 is to pick up the foot, bring it to the bottom half of the leg, right underneath the knee. Option 3, you know where you're going. You can bring that foot to the inside of the thigh. Choose where you'd like your hands to go. So even though you're in this possibly really wobbly shape, can you find that same deep breath that you found at the very beginning of the practice? Trust in your standing foot, trust in your support. Slowly, hands come back onto the hips if they're not there already. The knee comes forward and then stab that foot down. Beautiful, well done. All right, so that's the balancing out of the way. I'll ask that you grab hold of your blocks if you've got them, or your books. And then coming towards the front end of your mat, but I'm gonna face you just that you can see what's going on, but coming towards the front of your mat, and make sure that your blocks are nearby. Come back into your mountain pose, your Tadasana shape. So we've been here before, we're quite familiar with this shape by now. Take an inhale to reach the fingertips out towards the side, reaching the fingertips all the way up. And then tipping the hips back, diving the heart forward, coming down into your forward folds. Bring the fingertips down onto the mat, and then bring your feet side by side. Toes are touching, big toes are touching, heels are slightly apart. Come high onto the tippy toes. So stay with me, there's a method to my madness, I promise. You're on your tippy toes. Keep the heels high as you bend into the knees come out to either side. Sit your butt down. Heart is open, shoulders roll back. This is your inhale position, so take a deep inhale. Exhale as you straighten into the legs, send the hips back. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, sit your butt down, open your knees. Exhale, straighten into the legs. Last one, inhale. Exhale. Beautiful. Now bring your heels down. Take big step out with the feet. So your feet are on the outer edges of your yoga mat, or even a little bit wider. Grab hold of your 2 blocks. Place your blocks in between and a little bit behind your feet. We're coming into a low squat malasana pose. Bend back into the knees. Knees come on the outside of the elbows, and then your blocks are there to raise the floor up so that you have a little bit more support. So the most supportive way for you to set yourself up in this shape, in case you've come into this shape and you feel like you're gonna fall backwards, or the flexibility is not so there in the ankles, or it doesn't feel comfortable for the shins, bringing any sort of support underneath of you, or maybe if you sit yourself close to the couch, or if you bring some cushions into it. So really take a second to, even if you wanna like pause the video, set yourself up, because when you do end up supporting yourself in this shape, then it can be really wonderful to explore the stretch that you feel in the inner groin. So once you have supported your hips, the elbows come on the inside of the knees and the palms of the hands come together. The blocks are not necessary, so if you don't want to be using the blocks, you can just play with having your tailbone reaching down towards the mat. But ease into it here. Once you've found your shape, if it feels okay, bring your eyes to a close. Feel your root sink down towards the mat. Feeling that stability inside of yourself. Bring your breath into this posture, into this moment. If the eyes are closed, slowly opening into the eyes. Bring the fingertips down onto the mat and then straighten into the legs to send the hips back up towards the sky. You can allow the blocks to come to one side. You're in your forward fold at the front of the mat. Just take a second here to release that last shape. Hands come down onto the mat if they're not there already. Step back into your last downward facing dog. Noticing if this downward facing dog feels any different now compared to the last time you were here. And then bringing the knees down towards the mat, swinging the heels over towards one side. Grab one of your blocks on the way there and make your way onto your back. I'm gonna come into one last shape. So we started the practice with a more yang bridge pose. Now we're gonna come into a little bit more of a yin bridge pose, a supported bridge pose. So any sort of supports that you have, literally this can be done with anything. Block, cushion, pillow, rolled up blanket, anything where you can press into the feet, lift the hips up, and slide something underneath of the hips. So then your hips can come down and find a nice supportive stretch. If this is your first time practicing supported bridge pose and you're unfamiliar with this shape, I'll leave a link below for a pose tutorial for this shape. This is such a wonderful shape if you suffer from low back pain, but it's also a good one to find a little bit of grounding energy into the body. You can play with having your feet on the mat as we are now, or if you want to come into waterfall pose, you can extend the legs up towards the sky. Allow the exhales to invite you to soften a little bit more into this moment, into this shape. Remembering that you gave yourself permission at the beginning of the practice to be here. So be here, my darling. If the legs are reaching up towards the sky, bring the feet back down onto the mat. Press into the feet to lift the hips up just high enough so you can glide that block out of the way. Hips come back down onto the mat. Knees come in towards the chest. Hug those knees in nice and close. And then extend into the legs to come into your final relaxation, corpse pose. Take up space on your mat here, settling into the support of the earth beneath you. Let's take a nice big inhale together, you and I. Exhale at the mouth, let it go. Sink into the comforting stillness of this moment. This is where I leave you for today's practice, because I would like you to take as long as you need to in this shape to find that center, find your root. Thank you so much for joining me during today's practice. You are wonderful. From my heart to yours, until next time, namaste.